Same.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna. Today is March 17th, 2022. It's the anniversary of the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Gaura Pranim is the name of the festival. The golden full moon, which is when Lord Chaitanya appeared. And yes, so this would be the 536th anniversary. And so we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the unauthorized biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, given to us by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and of course given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And we're studying the Adi Leela, chapter 3, text 52. Text 52, Adi Leela, chapter 3 of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, okay. Krishna Varnam, Tvisha Krishnam, Sangopangastra, Parshadam, Yage, Sankirtana, Prayer, Yajanti, Hi, Sumeda Saha, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam, Sangopangastra Parshadam, Yage Sankirtana Prayer, Yajanti Hi Sumeda Saha, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam, Sangopangastra Parshadam, Yage Sankirtana Prayer, Yajanti Hi Sumeda Saha, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam, Sangopangastra Parshadam, Yange Sankirtana Prayer, Yajanti Hi Sumeda Saha.
Krishnam Varnam Tvisa Krishnam,
Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam,
Sangopangastra Parsadam,
Sangopangastra Parshadam,
Yamna Sankirtana Prayer,
Yage Sankirtana Prayer,
Yajanti Hi Sumedasa,
Yajanti Hi Sumeda Saha.
Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam,
Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam,
Sangopangastra Parshadam,
Sangopangastra Parshadam, Yage Sankirtana Prayer, Yajanti Hi Sumeda Saha.
Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam
Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam
Sangopangastra Parshadam
Sangopangastra Parshadam
Yagnek Sankirtana Praye
Yagnek Sankirtana Praye
Yajantihi Sumedasa
Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Would anyone online like to recite the verse?
Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam
Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam
Rupangastra Parshadam
Sangopangastra Parshadam
Yagya Sankirtana Prayaya
Yadke Sankirtana Prayer
Yajantihi Sumedasaha.
Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Okay. We'll go to the word for word. Krishna Varnam.
Krishna Varnam
Repeating the syllables Krishna.
Repeating the syllable Krishna
Trisha.
Trisha
With a luster.
Krishna
Akrishnam.
Krishna
Not black, golden.
not black golden
Saanga.
Sangha
Along with associates.
along with associates
Upanga.
Upanga
Servitors.
servitors
Astra.
Astra
Weapons.
weapons
Parshadam.
Parashadam
Confidential companions.
confidential companions
Yadge.
Yagya
By sacrifice.
by sacrifice
Sankirtana Praye.
Sankirtana prayer
Consisting chiefly of congregational chanting.
consisting chiefly of congregational chanting
Yajanti.
Yajanti
They worship.
they worship
He. Certainly.
certainly
Sumedasaha.
Sumedasa
Intelligent persons.
intelligent persons
Translation. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 11, Canto 11, chapter 5, text 32. Right, so just to give context, so we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the author, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, is citing a verse, a key verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this verse is actually from Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Karabhajana Muni. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this verse in his commentary on the Bhagavatam known as the Krama Sandarbha, wherein he says that Lord Krishna also appears with a golden complexion. That golden Lord Krishna is Lord Chaitanya, who is worshipped by intelligent men in this age. That is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by Gargamuni, who said that although the child Krishna was blackish, he also appears in three other colors, red, white, and yellow. He exhibited his white and red complexions in the Satya and Treta ages, respectively. He did not exhibit the remaining color, yellow gold, until he appeared as Lord Chaitanya, who is known as Gaura Hari. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that Krishna Varna means Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Varna and Krishna Chaitanya are equivalent. The name Krishna appears with both Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Krishna. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he always engages in describing Krishna and thus enjoying transcendental bliss by chanting and remembering his name and form. Lord Krishna himself appears as Lord Chaitanya to preach the highest gospel. Varnayati means utters or describes. Lord Chaitanya always chants the holy name of Krishna and describes it also. And because he is Krishna himself, whoever meets him will automatically chant the holy name of Krishna and later describe it to others. He injects one with transcendental Krishna consciousness, which merges the chanter in transcendental bliss. In all respects, therefore, he appears before everyone as Krishna, either by personality or by sound. Simply by seeing Lord Chaitanya, one at once remembers Lord Krishna. One may therefore accept him as Vishnu Tattva. In other words, Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna himself. Sangopangastra Parshadam further indicates that Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna. His body is always decorated with ornaments of sandalwood and with sandalwood paste. By his super excellent beauty, he subdues all the people of the age. In other descents, the Lord sometimes used weapons to defeat the demoniac, but in this age, the Lord subdues them with his all-attractive figure as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that his beauty is his astra or weapon to subdue the demons. Because he is all attractive, it is to be understood that all the demigods lived with him as his companions. His acts were uncommon and his associates wonderful. When he propagated the Sankirtan movement, he attracted many great scholars and acharyas, especially in Bengal and Orissa. Lord Chaitanya is always accompanied by his best associates like Lord Nityananda, Advaita Gadadhar, and Srivas. Srila Jiva Goswami cites a verse from the Vedic literature which says that there is no necessity of performing sacrificial demonstrations or ceremonial functions. He comments that instead of engaging in such external pompous exhibitions, all people, regardless of caste, color, or creed, can assemble together and chant Hare Krishna to worship Lord Chaitanya. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam indicates that prominence should be given to the name of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya taught Krishna consciousness and chanted the name of Krishna. Therefore, to worship Lord Chaitanya, everyone should together chant the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To propagate worship in churches, temples, or mosques is not possible because people have lost interest in that. But anywhere and everywhere, people can chant Hare Krishna. Thus, worshiping Lord Chaitanya, they can perform the highest activity and fulfill the highest religious purpose of satisfying the Supreme Lord. Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, a famous disciple of Lord Chaitanya, said, the principle of transcendental devotional service having been lost, Sri Krishna Chaitanya has appeared to deliver again the process of devotion. He is so kind that he is distributing love of Krishna. Everyone should be attracted more and more to his lotus feet as humming bees are attracted to a lotus flower. Om Agyanatamiran Dasya Gananchana Shalakaya Chakshu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Putale Swayamupa Kadamayam Darati Swam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaparakamalam Shri Gun Vaishnavam Sham Shri Upam Sagrajatam Saganaragnatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Savadutam Paritana Saitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Stra Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 3, text 52, quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 11, chapter 5, text 32. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagye Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Sumedasaha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associate servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodidal Godadaya Pushpavantal Chitra Sandal Tamonudal. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are just like the sun and the moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali and to wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Panchatatvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Srupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jayatam Suratau Pangor Mamamanda Mater Gati Matsavasva Padam Bojao Madan Madanamoha. What's that? Radha Madana Mohana. Glory to the all-merciful Radha Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. Divyad. Srimad. Okay. In a temple of jewels, beneath a desire tree in the forest of Vrindavan, Shri Radha and Krishna, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. Srimad Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karshan Benu Stanir Gopir Gopinata Shri Stuna. Sri Srila Gopinath, who is the inaugurator of the transcendental mellow of the rasa dance, stands upon the shore at Vamsivan and attracts all the cowherd damsels of Vraja with the sound of his celebrated flute. May they all bestow upon us their blessings. All right, so this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that foretells the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, was compiled about 5,000 years ago. So it's foretelling the appearance of Lord Chaitanya about 4,500 years later. Bhagavatam tells the future. So Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahiranya. And so Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. It's Krishna in the form of a combined form, incarnation, we could say. Sometimes Prabhupada says Lord Chaitanya is not an incarnation of Krishna, he is Krishna. Sometimes incarnation, he's known as the Chana avatar, hidden incarnation, because so he's a combined form of Radha and Krishna. And so, of course, this whole Sankirtan movement, this is inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya. And so Chana avatar hidden, sometimes when his associates would kind of understand and express that you are Krishna himself, Lord Chaitanya would cover his ears, And no, don't say that. I don't want to hear that. No. Because he's a devotee of Krishna. And so for devotees, the idea of oneness with Krishna in that sense is actually important. Like I'm a Jivara Supahori Krishna Nichidas. Right? Yes. Some of you have heard me tell the story. I was at a seminar and some of the staff members, this was in San Diego about 20 years ago, and some of the staff members at some point came to me and said, David, just because they could see that I was practicing Krishna consciousness, they said, David, just know that you are Krishna. So they thought that would help me. They were well-meaning, but so like, no. So for a devotee, like, no, Jiva Super Krishna Nichidas Krishna Tatasa Sakshti Beta Prakash. That no, I'm No, I'm devotees, a servant of Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya, the Prabhupada gives the example, just like a teacher will sometimes take the student's hand and go, okay, so here's how you do it. A, B, C. Okay, now so the teacher is very fluent in writing ABCs, but sometimes the teacher will come down to show, here's how you do it, right? To teach us. So this is Krishna coming down as the combined form of Radha and Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya, and saying, okay, here's how you do devotional service. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Saradaman Prityagya Mame Kam Sharanam Vraja Am Tvam Sarvapapebhyo Mokshaya Shami Mashucha. And it says, yeah, so just abandon all forms of yoga, abandon all forms of religion, abandon all forms of rules, regulations, just surrender into me. Just surrender into me. Be my devotee. So then Krishna comes down and says, okay. And he comes down to Lord Chaitanya and says, now here's how to be my devotee. Here's how to do it. A, B, C, like that. So that's why Lord Chaitanya didn't want to hear that he's Krishna, although he was. And this Bhagavatam verse predicts his appearance in great detail. And yes, so, okay. So the main thing, so the cornerstone practice is this chanting Hare Krishna. And it is described, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That the main process for God consciousness, self-realization, cleansing the heart in this age is chanting mantra, and specifically chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So Lord Chaitanya is showing us, he's showing us how to do it. This morning before japa, we read and recited the 8 stanzas of the Shikshastakam, and it's all about chanting Hare Krishna and the transformation of heart that happens. So yeah, so there in that third verse, Trinadapi Sunichina Turiva Sihishtuna Manina Manadina Kirtanya Sadahari. So this is Lord Chaitanya's written verse that so he talks. So the goal is Kirtanya Sadahari, to be doing kirtan all the time. Sadahari. So actually it's all the time. Well, I'm trying to chant 1 round a day, 16. So the idea is that to chant kirtan, this is actually what's natural for the soul. Kirtan, well, has various meanings and they're interrelated. So kirtan means to glorify Krishna. Kirtan means to describe. It really means to describe. And so to glorify Krishna, this is the very foundation of our existence, right? So like the foundation of the gross body, right, is kind of created around the subtle material body. And at the center of that, like a magnet, is the spirit soul. And the soul of the soul, that's actually the super soul. And the soul of the super soul, that's Krishna, Sri Krishna. Mataparataram Nanyan Kinshirasti Dhananjaya Mayasavindam Potam Suche Maniganayava. Krishna says that everything rests on me, material energy, spiritual energies, and everything rests on me, like pearls are strung on a thread. So actually, this is natural for the soul to be chanting Hare Krishna all the time. Just it was on Tuesday night, so a day and a half ago, I conducted an online group coaching session with the group who had completed the Saftov Advanced Seminar back in November. And so we conducted a closed eye sort of process. And towards the end of the closed eye process was about getting to our very end. Who are we as not the body, not the car, the driver of the car, right? Not the finger, the owner of the finger, All right. And then towards the end of the closed eye, we said, okay, and consciousness is eternal. Still, consciousness has a source, the very source of consciousness. It can seem like a contradiction to the material mind, but the analogy given is just like the sun rays exist always with the sun. Never did the sun exist without the sun rays. Still, the sun globe is the source of the sun. So we are conscious and we are consciousness. And so we are conscious and we are consciousness simultaneously. And still, so there's the source consciousness, that super soul, and the source of super soul is Sankarshan, Vasudeva, Krishna, Goloka Vrindavan, Goloka Eva Niva Satya Kila Bhuta. And then towards the end of the closed eye, we asked everyone to chant 3 Hare Krishna Mahamantras. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then after the process, we asked for sharing. And there were several in the process who, let's just say, it's part of their practice for several years to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra Japa. And there was one there who, she doesn't identify as a devotee. She's on that path, let's say. But there's one there. And then her sharing, she shared connecting with such profound security in the closed eye, not the closed eye, connecting with who she is that irreducible quanta of consciousness that is really the ground of everything. And then she shared, and this Maha Mantra, she used the word, this Maha Mantra, this is the ground current of my whole existence. So it's very enlightening because, she probably has never studied Chaitanya Charitamrita or like that. She had the realization that this chanting Hare Krishna, this is the ground current of my entire existence. And then at the very end, we do what's called a round of pearls, where everyone just gives one or two words or a phrase that especially enliven them from the 90-minute session. And many of them, their pearl, especially those who identify as devotees and followers of Lord Chaitanya, their pearl was Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the ground current of my whole existence. So this chanting. Yesterday, this past 2 weeks or so, I conducted 2 Sappho foundational seminars in Denver, Colorado. Yesterday, I conducted a post-seminar interview. We talked for about 60 minutes with those who finished the seminar. And this interview, was with someone who, again, had really no connection with Bhagavad Gita or Srila Prabhupada or chanting Hare Krishna. And after the official closure of the second foundational seminar, that was this past Sunday on March 13th, there at the Harmonious Sanctuary in Denver, we conducted what we call a post-seminar philosophical spiritual roots program. So for it's optional participation for those who want to have a fuller, deeper understanding of what's at the foundation of all the Sappho programs, philosophically and in terms of spiritual concepts and practice. And so we did Yagye and Kirtana prayer, Yajanti Sumitasan. We did Kirtan because this verse says, if you want to be intelligent, do Kirtan. So I was like, well, I want to be intelligent, so we do Kirtan. Yeah. And so for this, yes. And so for this, this is a woman, like around her, in her maybe early 30s. So she'd never experienced that before, japa or kirtan. And she shared that she never experienced anything close to this. She called it like a clean, pure joy. And she wasn't even talking so much for herself, but like what she was noticing in others. She said she's been around people who are really happy, but she got a distinction. Like they were really happy because they were gratified, like it was all about them. But here she could see like everyone was in service. She doesn't know much of the flesh, very smart, but this is her first exposure to Vaishnavism. So, but she could see everyone like was in service to something much greater. And there was just this pure joy. It was different than like the ecstasy, she'd seen in other places. This was a pure joy. So she experienced, just what Lord Chaitanya's mission is. So yeah, so Medha means intelligent. Su is like superior. So yeah, so we can, this is a quick IQ test. Yeah, this is a quick IQ test, really, because there's different types of intelligence. But then intelligence be able to make distinctions that will help us to achieve our goals. And so to make our goal Krishna consciousness, to realize we're not the body, to realize who we are, spirit, soul. Okay, so so what activity is going to, that's intelligence, right? And to make distinctions, to achieve truly worthy goals. And any goal that's planted in the reflection of the banyan tree, to reference chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, any goal that's just about shadow, any goal that furthers the illusion, the imaginary conditioned life, that we are the body, we are the mind, and that's not intelligent. We're envious of ourselves. The nature of ourself is to have that clean, pure joy. Right? So this is real intelligence, however articulate someone is or not, whatever degree someone has. This is an IQ test, actually. Okay, so to chant Hare Krishna, to cultivate Krishna consciousness. And then clearly here, okay, in the line of Lord Chaitanya, clearly, and a natural extension of that, you might say the other part of it, is to share. It's like right here, okay, there's Lord Chaitanya in the street. He's in the street sharing Sankirtan. So like his mood and the mood of like Srila Prabhupada, our current link to the Parampara, is to share. I was just reading this morning, actually, Padmapani Prabhu. He sent me quotes from Prabhupada, not just me, he has a whole mailing list and very nectarian quotes. And this morning I read, he's based in Canada, like I think Vancouver area. But yeah, so he sent me some excerpt from Prabhupada's diary in 1966 on Gaur Purnima, 1966. So at that time, so Prabhupada, he's in New York, but he hasn't attracted any reasonably serious students at this time. He's not on the Lower East Side. I sense he's like Upper Manhattan with Dr. Mishra. And that's when he's like quite alone. I mean, he's got there was some ashram there. And it's Gaur Purnima. And so Prabhupada writes, and he is with others, and he was with some Iranian gentleman who was in New York, and Prabhupada in his diary, he had a nice talk with him, and the gentleman was open, and this and that. But Prabhupada so today is the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya. And he wrote in Vrindavan, they're having ecstatic kirtan, and in Navadvip, they're having ecstatic kirtan. And I'm all alone here. And he goes, and he goes, and I came here to do my service. I came here to do my service. I came here to serve the mission of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and to serve the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada writes, I'm prepared to go to hell to serve the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so this is very significant, because I guess the idea is like, he was not in Vrindavan, he was not in Navadvip. So I guess like the upper side of Manhattan wasn't quite hell, but kind of indicating like, yeah, I'm prepared even for worse than this. Right? Yeah, I'm prepared for even in there in the winter in New York. Like, it was earlier, this time of year. He's even right. I'm prepared to go to help us serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya. So, yeah. So, with that mood, of course, Prabhupada's never separated from Lord Chaitanya, never separated from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So that's the mood, to cultivate and share, and to rack our brain how to share, rack our brain how to share, to use our intelligence to support people to be intelligent, to use their human form of life to be intelligent, and give themselves to this most sublime process of self-realization, God realization, God consciousness, cultivating, developing love of God. Yeah, so this chanting is the driving force, and yes. And so, okay, so Prabhupada is extensively quoting Srila Jiva Goswami. Yeah, Srila Jiva Goswami. Actually, this verse, because Jiva Goswami wrote the Satsandarbhas, and Prabhupada quotes, Satsandarbhas means 6 Sandarbhas. Prabhupada quotes the 7th Sandarbha, which is the Krama Sandarbha. So right at the beginning of Satsandarbha, Jiva Goswami gives he gives invocation verses for each Sandarbha. His invocation verse for the entire Sandarbha is Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangopangasta Parshadami and Gay Sankirtana Sadu Janti Sumedasa. This is the verse. This is arguably the foundational verse for Srimad Bhagavatam, along with others. Vedanti tat tatvavidas tatvam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate, that the absolute is realized in 3 aspects. Brahmagyoti, Paramatma, God in the heart, and Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Bhagavaniti sabhyate. So Jiva Goswami, because sometimes we hear about Lord Chaitanya's Astra's weapons as being like Lord Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Srivas Thakur, Gadadhar Pandi, and that's in this purport too. But Prabhupada's quoting Jiva Goswami that Lord Chaitanya's his main Astra was his beauty, his beauty, which is so attractive, so attractive. His body is always decorated with ornaments of sandalwood and with sandalwood paste. By his super excellent beauty, he subdues all the people of the age. In other descents, the Lord sometimes used weapons to defeat the demoniac, but in this age, the Lord subdues them with his all-attractive figure as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that his beauty is his astra or weapon to subdue the demons. Because he is all-attractive, it is to be understood that all the demigods lived with him as his companions. Yes, and then there's the aspect here of the verse in purport about, there's Srila Jiva Goswami cites a verse from the Vedic literature which says that there's no necessity of performing sacrificial demonstrations or ceremonial functions. So it's describing another quintessential verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Shavanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Vandanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. 9 processes of devotional service. And the core foundational processes are Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. That's this kirtan. And all the other processes naturally include and are permeated by hearing and chanting, whether it's deity worship or prayer, they're meant to include there. So the idea here is it's not saying not to do like the rituals of deity worship. At the same time, that whatever else we do, and Prabhupada recommends deity worship to support ourselves, to cleanse our heart. Whatever else we do, that it serves and supports the kirtan. These are the foundational processes. And anukulyasya sankalpa, patikulyasya varjanam. Right? Patikulyasya varjanam. that accept anything favorable for Krishna consciousness, reject anything not favorable. Smartavya Satyatam Vishnu Smartavya Najatuche. Right? Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. That's the main principle. And the main way to do that is through this chanting Hare Krishna. And yeah, let's accept everything else that supports us to do that. And I would say especially reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Srila Prabhupada is our Prabhupada left everything. He left a nice life in Vrindavan so that we can be here in Alachua, Florida, or Switzerland, or India, or wherever we are, to be talking about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I had certainly never heard of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my upbringing like that. Yeah, and so, so we certainly are forever indebted to Srila Prabhupada. So to read his books are especially empowered, whatever we understand or not understand. And so, so the principle, Acharya Praya Shastra, Prajapo Niyamagraha. Niyamagraha means that. Well, essentially, Rupa Goswami gives us the principle. Niyamagraha has two meanings. One, to not follow rules and regulations just in an empty way, like to not miss the forest for the trees, right? Exemplified like by the Brahmins, right, in Vrindavan, when Krishna and Balaram, they were hungry. So the cowherd friends of Krishna and Balaram, that they went like, oh, our friends Krishna and Balaram were hungry. And the Brahmins were like, yo, kids, we're busy doing these rituals. We're doing these very important religious rituals. And just like scram, get out of here. We're busy with important spiritual stuff. So then the cowherd boys were disappointed. And then Krishna and Balaram said, well, don't be discouraged. And then they said, okay, go to the wise of the Brahmins. Go to the wise of the Brahmins. And so, okay, so they went to the wise. Krishna and Balaram were hungry. Got some food for them. And the wise and the Brahmins were like, Krishna and Balaram are hungry. Yeah, well, because we have so many duties and responsibilities. We got so many, but whatever. Krishna and Balaram, this is wow, there's for sure nothing more important than that. So they immediately went and fed. So it was clear the wise of the Brahmins were much, much more advanced in spiritual life than the Brahmins. As the pastime unfolds, the Brahmins got like, yeah, we're that what fools we were. They did understand eventually, but their wives who didn't know all the mantras and weren't real austere or disciplined, but they were fully absorbed, fully realizing the goal of actual spiritual life. Whereas like the Brahmins, they were missing the forest due to the trees. So Niyamagraha means like, don't do that. Like realize the goal. And it's important because like anything we're doing, we could probably all think of different things in our life where maybe we have some have-to energy about. Maybe we say it's kind of tedious or whatever. And then if we realize the goal, cultivate Krishna consciousness, share Krishna consciousness, then we get to be enthusiastic about everything to the extent that we really keep the goal in mind. And then another meaning of Niyamagraha is that if there are rules, regulations that will support us to cleanse our heart and come to Krishna consciousness with enthusiasm, don't neglect those rules and regulations. Sure, it's true that ultimately the spontaneous love of Krishna, it's not dependent on any rules and regulations. To get to that stage, though, that requires disciplining ourselves, like rising early, chanting a minimum number of rounds, like that, reading Prabhupada's books regularly. So not to neglect rules and regulations that will genuinely help us. Yeah, I mean, that becomes what's called sahajya, like that. And then, as Krishna describes in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, even those who are on that platform of pure, spontaneous devotional service, and they don't need rules and regulations because they're there. They follow rules and regulations anyway. to set an example, So to be doing kirtan always, as we quoted that verse, Nadapi sunichina to Riva Sahishnana, Amanina Manadina Caitanya Sada. Yeah, so that's so it starts to be to think oneself lower than the straw on the street, to be more tolerant than a tree, ready to offer all respects to others, demanding no respect for oneself. So that's the foundation, to be inspired to enthusiastically Kirtanya Sadhari, to do kirtan all the time. Right? So like Kirtanya Sadhari is the fourth line of the verse. Right? So how to get to that fourth line? That requires not humiliation, requires humility. And then with such humility, then like we're not going to get distracted from chanting and serving. Right? It's with the false ego, Diman, with false ego. And it's just like, I'm not getting enough respect. I'm not getting enough honor. This one doesn't deserve as much as me. I'm envious. And then we're all distracted. From living an intelligent life like that. Yeah. So, Caitanya Sadhari. Okay, so I'll read the verse one more time. Krishna Varnam Chisha Krishnam Sangopandaska Parshadam Yadgay Sankirtanam Prayajanti Srimedasaha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of the Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Hare Krishna, thanks for your presence and attention. I welcome at this time if anyone would like to share any comments or realizations or ask any questions.
Yeah, my quick comments.
Okay, Ladini Shakti.
I think in the purport Prabhupada was saying about the four like colors for colors for the different yugas. So this time when I heard it, it really gave me like the perspective of like it's quite rare that Krishna comes.
Yeah.
Well, he comes like outside of this four colors,
yeah.
I guess. Like Lord Nishinga there.
Right.
But still, like it just like strike me like how rare it is that he comes like one time in each yuga.
Right.
And then we are like here like right after.
Yeah.
So I felt like blessed.
Fortunate, very fortunate.
Very fortunate, very special opportunity. And then you went more to like Shah Prabhupada being like alone freezing in New York. For us.
Yes, for
so
us.
I also felt I felt fortunate.
You're feeling fortunate, you're feeling gratitude, you're feeling blessed. Krishna appears, just in a sense, once every 1,000 yugas, once in a day of Brahma. In a sense, once every 2,000 yugas, because there's a day and the night. And Lord Chaitanya appears similarly rarely, and we're so close. And then Srila Prabhupada coming for us. So I appreciate that. Your heart is appreciating.
Yes, and we are also like the closest to the most merciful incarnation.
Yes.
They are pretty good.
You
are so fortunate.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for that, Lindy. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions, realization? Share. So today, if we want to make it be a natural day to engage in the Yuga, Kali Claire Dharma Krishna Nam Sankirtan. This is the special Dharma of this age, to engage in extra chanting and extra reading and discussing about Lord Chaitanya.
Extra cooking.
Prasad preparation. Anything else at this time?
No, one more thing I will say, then no one speaks. Is that a hand?
Anandini and then Ladini.
I also, Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class, and I'm sharing because I don't want it to end. Yeah, and also I do have like a lot of appreciation hearing you speak about Srila Prabhupada and how he went to New York, and like many times I ask myself, why did I come to a spiritual teacher, like a line where it's about sharing. And like, I don't want to share, like a lot of resistance to preaching. And what I'm experiencing in the past weeks is that if I connect to a place of compassion, I want to share the news. I want to share the message. And when I'm in a prayerful place of not like, okay, let's find a victim and impose. When I'm in a prayerful place of, I really want to share out of compassion. And also, there's also a selfish reason, because I notice if I don't share about Krishna consciousness, I get, I don't know, my reading becomes dry somehow. It becomes, instead of a joy, it becomes like an effort. Also there, the selfish aspect. And then, like the compassion and the prayerful mood, then I see naturally it happens, and I get opportunities to share some transcendental knowledge, maybe just a sentence or a word, and I'm beginning to see that I'm beginning to develop appreciation to be in a spiritual line where it's about sharing.
Thanks for sharing, Anandini. I can relate to that. Like I'm naturally a very introverted person. I don't want to share. I don't want to get out there. And yes, like that's when okay, I can be myself. I'm going to be all alone. Maybe read some books. But then I appreciate how you share actually connecting with a feeling, a real feeling of compassion, and like and then then it's not about I'm this type of person, I'm that type of person. Naturally I want to share, to help, to support people, to relieve their suffering in a substantial way, in an intelligent way, not just a superfluous way. And I appreciate what you shared, Nandini, about reading books, because I like to read at the same time. Like share, of course I'm reading for myself. I'm associated with Prabhupada, I'm associated with Lord Chaitanya, where I read Prabhupada's books. And then for me, I'm enthusiastic to read. I'm alive in what I'm reading when I'm reading from for my own upliftment and consciousness and my own happiness, and with a mood, with a spirit to share. What distinctions, what nuance, what example can I get to that'll support me to share effectively? Then just everything comes to life. Thanks for that.
And also I want to add that it seems quite the world situation seems to make it easier to connect with compassion. Like when we want to be alive to our experience and not go, then the world situation makes it easier to go to compassion. So much suffering is coming up for people.
Thanks for that. Because of course, the material world's always a place of suffering, but sometimes now we can see wow, this is a hellish situation. So what am I going to do? Other than talk here and there. Let me really be compassionate and empathic with knowledge, So let me read, let me cultivate, realize knowledge so I can really make a difference with compassion. Otherwise, in the name of compassion, it's just like rearranging the chairs on the ship of the Titanic. Bunch of zeros without the one in front. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
It seems that there is even more suffering when people follow the suffering.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that, Malini.
Hare Krishna, Nandini. I was just reflecting on what you were saying, and I feel like my experience has been quite different than what you're sharing. That I feel more pain and desire to preach Krishna consciousness, as you know, as Lord Chaitanya asked us to do, when I see people being in illusion to be happy, when there is no suffering, when they are thinking, oh, everything is fine here. I feel so much more pain to see that than when people suffer and there is kind of less illusion. And so I feel less pain.
Thanks for sharing that, Malini. Yeah, okay, there's the Prakshetatmika Shakti, different types of Maya. One type of Maya, Avranatmika Shakti, throws us into illusion. And the other type of Maya convinces us that we're happy in that illusion. So what I'm hearing you say, Malini, is like, okay, if people are like aware how much of this is terrible. I was living a nice life, and then boom, now there's war, there's bombs at the bus stop and other stuff like that. Okay. Or whatever. So then people are suffering in one sense. All right, so that that suffering is going to move them, at least some of them, not just them, us. I'm part of them. And that suffering is going to move us to some sort of let me live, let me be more deeply thoughtful. Let me not live such a shallow life. What's life? It's going to move them to important questions, hopefully. But then when kind of like Indra as the pig, and Brahma said, okay, time to come back to heaven. No, I'm doing fine here as a pig.
You're happy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so painful.
Yeah. Right then, like, no, everything.
Yeah.
The mud feels so good.
Yeah. This is I got my slop, I got my mud. What could be better? So then it's this thing, then there's just the numbness, and that pains your heart even worse.
Yeah, it seems more painful.
I appreciate, Anandini, that you brought the compassion part, like how time that you spoke, so we don't close yet. And I wanted to reflect on how the wife of the Brahmanas, they were so ready to let go of their to-do list. It's a similar point like we made on Monday. Madhavendra Puri, he was going to get Gopal Diti and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Was it Vrindavan?
Yeah, it was around Gopal.
Yes. So they were like, okay, yeah, let's go. And I just so much appreciate this mood, because the to-do list is always going to be full. It's not like that it ever happens that if I cross everything off my to-do list, today is the day that it will happen and then I can serve Krishna. So I just...
After I finish that, after my bank account is there, I have a house and all that, then...
Or even the little daily things, I will respond to my emails, and these are really important emails, and then before I respond to them, I have 10 more, and then I will serve Krishna. So I just really appreciate this mood of who cares about all this to-do list? Krishna is very hungry.
Krishna.
So anyway, it's it's so inspiring to just this thinking I'm so important, I have so many important things to do today.
Lord Chaitanya is hungry, let's prepare prasad. Hare Krishna.
And Mahaprabhu afterwards, he gave service to all the Brahman. He didn't ask them, do you have a plan for your life? What do you do with your life? Do you have a job? Well, do you have a place to be? He just say, okay, here's what you do. Your Gopal is here, and we need offering all day, 5 offering, and you cooking, and you're doing the arti. And they say, okay, yes, that's what we do now.
Hare Krishna.
And same thing with Lord Chaitanya. I associate. I'm really always amazed how the residents of Navadvip, they were taking
4 months.
4 months out every year to walk from Navadvip to Jagannath Puri and stay with the Lord and then walk back. Like they have nothing else to do. Because they don't have computer, that's probably why.
Yeah, but how could they? Yeah, but checking their phone messages and how could they do that? And making sure the insurance gets paid. It seems they weren't all that concerned. They just like, okay, let's pack up.
Not even the growing season or anything.
Right. Well, it's a matter of knowing what are those big rocks to put in first. But Nico.
Yeah, I mean, all I was just gonna say is like with these stories we're saying, where everyone's dropping everything to serve Krishna in whatever capacity in the stories we just heard. I was just like thinking about how like, okay, Srila Prabhupada has given us the formula, and it's like how much are we, and you just mentioned putting the big rocks in first.
Yeah.
Like, how much are we prioritizing the formula, the system that Srila Prabhupada has given us?
Yeah.
The to-do list will never be finished. Yeah, like I really resonate with that too, and like really like what is important and inquiry.
Chanting at least 16 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Reading Srila Prabhupada's books. That's your to-do list.
Nice.
I relate to that. I mean, I don't live it. I don't have much really, but like, okay, I've chanted 16 rounds and I read Prabhupada's books. This is a successful day.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else that's extra, that builds on that. And I know it's like okay, stay and sit. But like if there's a day where, because I'm so busy and I got important things to do, and I don't clear time to read Prabhupada's books in person, not just morning program, but like in personal reading. And at the end, even if I accomplish things, there's something like, I kind of miss that big rock, and not good intelligence.
Mm. And it seems also it's complete. Then from that place, everything is irrelevant, and I preach. Then the rest is just racking my brain to support all the living entities in the form of human being to do the same.
To do the same.
To
yes.
come to the place where their priority is then chanting at least 16 rounds and reading
Prabhupada's books. Precisely.
So that's it. Like I do that, and then the rest, my brain, my mind is all absorbed in like, how can I do that? Everybody else does that, and that's there to do list every day.
Yeah. It's like
we have a comment online. I thought we did. Frucellas.
Hare Krishna. Was Mother Malini in the middle of speaking? I couldn't tell that she ended.
Mother Malini completed, and now we're with Frucella.
Hare Krishna.
Hey Damayanti and Garuda. Hari Bo. Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to share my experience of like the outreach part of Lord Chaitanya's movement and Srila Prabhupada's movement. That it's often not on my mind. It's like much more easier for me to think about outreach than like my personal practice, like reading or chanting, which I'm sure you guys have heard over the years. But I just wanted to express that out loud. And I did have like a breakthrough recently where, because I had a lot of like have to energy with my personal practice And anyway, it's a short sharing. I just want to say that I experienced my experience of resistance finally. Like instead of resisting my experience, I embraced my experience of resistance. And I mean, it was a process, but at the end of the day, I kind of like, and I had like these dreams, and the point is like, at the end of the day, this is what I want to serve Srila Prabhupada. I like chanting. I want something. I want a lifeline, something to hold on to. Because earlier in the class, I think you were talking about like get to energy. And anyway, I was listening.
Yes.
And then when I switched to get to energy and enthusiasm, I actually feel a lot of pain. Like I want to do more, or I can't do it, yes. Or I'm inhibited, or like I'm frustrated. Like, oh, I'm envisioning, like this morning I was envisioning all these decorations for the altar. Like time is passing by. I'm like, oh yeah, these, you know, like oh, there's all these like menu, like prasadam preps, and like I don't know if we're gonna get to do it. I don't know if anyone's gonna cooperate. And I was like chanting this morning too, like with all these desires. And then I finally was like, okay, this might not all happen. And oh, and I have this box of books. I have a box of books called The Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya. Oh, I gotta get those books. I need to get them to the program, or and like how can I get them around? And I just like my get to energy goes into like overdrive and mode of passion or something. And but anyway, I finally was like, okay, well, let me just still experience my experience today, experience my desires, not be attached to them, and be compassionate with my family members who have to kind of deal with me today with my enthusiasm. And my quote enthusiasm for the holiday, I'm like, we need to have such a spiritual day, and we could just keep adding to the day, and get overboard. And anyway, so it's not balanced over here. My consciousness is not balanced, and I'm not grounded. But in the end, my goal is Krishna consciousness. I would like to be just plain old steady, but I'm not. And I just thought I'd share. Thank you for the class. I'm really excited about Gaura Pranim and celebrating Lord Chaitanya. I want to watch the movies. I want to clean our temple. I want us all like scrubbing in ecstasy today at our home temple. Anyway, I have more I could list everything I've been thinking about yesterday and today, and it won't all happen, but I thought I'd express myself, at least express it.
Good way to put the mind. Good way to put the mind, to engage the mind. If we do it or not, it's secondary, but like that, the mind is not, absorbing sense gratification or whatever.
Auntie, yeah, thanks for sharing that wonderful way to, Anandini wrote, I want your enthusiasm. So Rupa Goswami says, like, he lists qualities that are important and conducive for progressing in Lord Chaitanya's process of bhakti yoga. And the first quality is utsaha, enthusiasm. And the next quality is patience. So patience doesn't mean complacent, but so enthusiasm, yes, and then the nishta, the steadiness, because in Prabhupada defines enthusiasm as endeavor executed with intelligence. That's enthusiasm. And I'm thinking, actually, the way Prabhupada organized it, actually, we don't do it. I've never done it. Wherever I've been, we've never done it. But actually, the way Prabhupada organized it in the line of Lord Chaitanya, it's actually, this is a 2-day festival. Okay. And so with 2 days, you get to do more service for Gaura Pranim, because the next day is Jagannath Mishra's festival that he held. And also, of course, with Janmashtami in Prabhupada's appearance day. Back in the early days of the movement, Prabhupada seemed to arrange 2-day festivals. I've never done it, but just wanted to mention it.
But because the next day you can have puris and
Yeah.
Kind of,
yeah, no.
things for Janet.
Yeah, well, I have some rationalization about that. Because we don't do a 2-day festival, it's fine to have, you don't need to do a Kaddish. Anyhow, I have my point of view. Okay. Ladini Shah?
I wanted to add to the discussion before that, like in my experience, like anytime I put off my to-do list and do instead of like reading, chanting, or giving donation to the devotees, I never regret. And I cannot say that when it's the other way around. So, and it might be like my to-do list is like really like kind of going astral because of these activities, and I never regret. But
your to-do list is always connected with services, though.
I don't know, something doesn't feel like that inspiring service maybe. Like taxes and emails and
Of course, it is connected with service. Still, I appreciate and I share your point that no, of course, Srila Prabhupada has so many quotes that the most important service is book distribution. He also has a quote that the most important service is accounting. He does. Yeah, if we're not finding bliss in accounting, it's just a mirror of our level of advancement. Okay, no, he does. So of course it is all service. At the same time, I can say that whatever my to-do list and this and that, and to the extent that I could have my nonsense to-do list, but to whatever extent my to-do list is connected with serving, managing, serving problems, it is service to whatever extent, each of us. Same time, however busy I am, and that's whenever I have clear time to chant rounds, to chant extra rounds, to read Prabhupada's books, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, I've never regretted. And I've even practically never been like, oh no, I had so much to do, but I took that 20 minutes to read Bhagavatam. What did I do? Like, I've never had anything like that.
yes.
And then when I come to the to-do list, because I chanted rounds or extra rounds, or I read Chaitanya Charitamrita, then at a much higher level of effectiveness and efficiency and clarity and purposefulness, with no interest to waste time on internet. So it's win-win, efficient all around.
I have all these thoughts before, like it will be such a waste of time if I chant extra rounds, but I never had it after.
Some
Parampara. Okay, so we have Anandini and Parampara. Anandini, then Parampara.
Or just a short comment. I was going to say some to-dos even disappear from the list.
Good point. Great. Great point there.
Well, yeah, this conversation from previous class, Madhavendra Puri, and this conversation, dropping the to-do list and going to serve, I feel personally attacked. I'm looking at I'm sitting with my guilt and shame, and so I'm taking that as a message of like, okay, I have things to look at here in my life. So that's one thing, is that I appreciate you're processing some practical points.
You're taking this very personally.
And I'm taking away some practical points too, some practical things, and so sitting with that, that's what's happening. And also something I came up when I was chanting japa. There's another thing I feel guilty about. I was thinking about something, not chanting japa, but and then Anandini's sharing reminded me of it, so I thought just to share it because why not? And then so she was speaking about preaching, like how come. What is that about? I've come to a preaching mission, and I don't want to do preaching. And I was thinking, well, just actually, rationally, it's like we're more likely to get involved in a preaching mission because there's preaching happening. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of like, they got you because they're a preaching mission, and that's why And actually, I was thinking, when I was chanting japa, like sometimes I can think about the, mystical, spiritual aspect of how I came to Krishna consciousness, like I was far out, like, just meant to be, or sometimes I can think, oh, maybe I did some previous, good work, pious credit, and I got the good fortune, or just causeless mercy. There's no reason why I should have been chanting Hare Krishna and just complete causeless mercy, bestowed upon me for, not deserved, can go there.
Yeah.
But then today I was just like, no, there's like, it's because it's a preaching mission. That's why I'm here, because there are systems set up, very practical, to bring people to Krishna consciousness. It's not a mystery. It's not a mystical thing, actually. It's because at UF's campus, there's a lunch program that Prabhupada, established and said, just serve prasadam and do something wonderful in Gainesville. That was like a direct instruction. So there's a lunch program serving prasadam because Prabhupada set that system up. And then there was a book distributor giving me a book on UF campus because Prabhupada emphasized book distribution worldwide. And then there was some seminar because some devotee got this inspiration to, from Prabhupada's instructions to create inventive ways to preach Krishna consciousness. So there's some devotee, dear Govinda, and Malini, these seminars that I came to. So like, no, there's nothing. It's just like, it's because Prabhupada established temples worldwide in farm communities. There's a temple here that I went to hear kirtan. Like, it's nothing magical, mystical. This was my perspective. We can go into all the other things, but it's because it's just very cut and dry, simple, straightforward. It's designed to bring people to Krishna consciousness, and it works. So that's why that's another perspective that I was connecting into.
Nice.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Of course, there is the transcendentalness, but at the same time, this transcendental service Prabhupada established. Prabhupada worked hard to establish systems and structures, and so you had a book distributor on the campus, and I had a sincere fellow of Prabhupada. He opened a center in State College, Pennsylvania. Then I got to take prasad. And Srila Prabhupada had everything carefully planned on behalf of Lord Chaitanya. So thanks for that aspect, which is so vital.
Well, it's such a win-win because I know, like, I can see my spiritual life dwindling and dying if I were not engaged in the preaching mission of Lord Chaitanya. Like it's a life of spiritual life at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's such a win-win because if I'm qualified or not, I'm out there. Some people may be in contact, and also like our spiritual life is so much more dynamic when we engage in that Christian mission.
Preaching.
And to keep that, in mind, like Dhanati was sharing, is enthusiasm with intelligence. And that means like, okay, I'm enthusiastic, I want to preach, I have so many ideas, and then I'm intelligent about using my time and not getting overwhelmed or overwhelmed, which I haven't done so well.
Thank you, Madam. Prabhupada would often quote Bhaktisiddhanta, who said, preaching is life.
Preaching is life, yeah, so much.
I want to say to that point that, like, when I'm here with the devotees and I don't preach, it's kind of okay. But when I'm home and I don't preach, I'm dead. Like, absolutely. So if I wasn't, I would not only be spiritual dead properly, materially also. Like, I feel I would not even survive like the depression that I went through last years.
Thanks for sharing that very stark experience. Yeah. Thank you, Anandini, for keeping this whole discussion going by your comment half an hour ago.
Jai.
We were about to close, and then we had this enlivening exchange for this past half hour. Shri Gaura Pranim Ki.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki.
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.